around the world that collectively hold over $500 million in cash. The relevant banks have been instructed to freeze all these accounts and not to process withdrawals for Sam or other signatories. Now, if you thought FTX's bank account situation was sketchy, consider the company's financial reporting. While the FTX US silo was being properly audited, the FTX
They mentioned Metaverse there, which I have Oculus 2 as a building tool.
To add insult to injury, John couldn't find any audited financial statements for the Alameda silo or the Ventures silo. He admits that it's going to take some time to accumulate accurate financial information about the four silos. Something tells me that those balance sheets will have a lot of black holes. Did I mention that FTX's empire didn't even have an accounting department?
All businesses should have that, if they're trading money.
Wasn't any better than its financial department. John said his team hasn't even been able to put together a list of FTX employees because none of the four silos had detailed records of that information. They didn't even have board meetings. For what it's worth, John says he's been working closely with a core team of FTX employees to figure out exactly what's going on. Many of you probably heard the news that almost everyone except Sam's inner circle was in the dark, and many FTX employees also had their money on the exchange. As expected, FTX's disbursements, that is payouts, were about as disorganized, with employees having to submit paycheck requests in a company chat room. As reported, some of FTX's capital was used to acquire properties in the Bahamas. The records of these transactions
$30 million.
are a complete mess. Regarding the custody of cryptocurrency, FTX
Penthouse
didn't
suite,
keep
I
any
think.
detailed records there either. If I understand correctly, only Sam Bankman-Fried and co-founder Gary Wang had access to the private keys for all the crypto wallets of the FTX empire.
That's
These
strange.
private keys were transferred around using unsecured emails.
Oh
By now,
dear.
most of you will know that Sam and Gary use secret software to mask their misuse of customer funds, and that Alameda Research was exempt from auto-liquidation on FTX. In plain English, this means that Alameda could enter extremely risky trades and not lose money if the trade went against them. The game was rigged in their favor, and they still lost. John also confirms that the FTX Global Silo and Alameda Silo were both
This is
covered by
shocking,
Sam and
but
Gary.
it is
This is
not
something that I was
financial
wondering about in our
advice.
video about the FTX Alameda situation. It's insane to think that much of the info has come out since that video. It'll be in the description if you missed it. Now, the bad news is that John and his team have only been able to locate around $740 million of cryptocurrency held by FTX. This balance doesn't include the almost $400 million of crypto that was stolen from FTX, nor the
Inside
$300
hack.
million of FTT that was recently printed. What's odd is that John seems to imply that Sam, Gary, and the other higher-ups at FTX haven't been able to identify other crypto wallets that may belong to the exchange. This is odd because they damn well should know, given that they were the only ones with access to the private keys. I suppose it doesn't matter because blockchain analytics companies are already hard at work tracking down every transaction that went in or out of FTX. Ironically enough, Chainalysis, the largest blockchain analytics company, recently confirmed that it had exposure to FTX.
A lot
John
did.
reiterates the fact that most FTX employees had no idea what Sam and co were up to.
The Securities and
They had
Exchange
no idea
Commission
that the assets
need
of
to
FTX
be
and
pulled
Alameda were
in.
being traded back and forth, nor that the cryptocurrencies of FTX users were being commingled with the company's cryptocurrencies. Speaking of which, John confirms that FTX had billions of dollars in other investments outside of cryptocurrency. This is something that Caroline had mentioned on Twitter during the chaos, but many people were skeptical. The list of skeptics seems to include John, as his team has yet to identify these other assets. This is all because of FTX's unbelievably bad record keeping, which extended to internal communication. Quote, Sam Bankman-Fried often communicated by using applications that were set to auto-delete after a short period of time, and encouraged
Like
employees
Snapchat.
to do the same. The conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day with that one. Now, despite all these hurdles, John assures the court that his team is collecting as much information as possible about FTX's operations. They're working with former and current regulators and law enforcement around the world to that end. John and his team are also working to sort out all the different subsidiaries FTX had around the world, including selling them if they have any value.
It's pretty shocking,
You
isn't
can
it?
bet that competing crypto companies are going to be keeping an eye out for those fire sales. Now, what caught my eye was the section about access to data. That's because John notes that his team cannot access certain data because, quote, the debtors have been advised that attempts to access this property of the estate may create a risk of its loss to unauthorized persons. John hints that this data is related to the largest clients of FTX, as he claims his team cannot make a list of the top 50 largest creditors without it. I reckon this list will eventually be produced, but it certainly begs the question of what information will be omitted. In closing, John takes a dig at Sam, saying that he, quote, continues to make erratic and misleading public statements on Twitter, and that these statements should effectively be ignored. I reckon they're hard to ignore when Sam should already be behind bars and not tweeting or playing video games.
Damn right.
So, this brings me to the big question, and that's what effect
Bernie
FTX
Madoff got
bankruptcy
locked up,
filing is
didn't he?
likely to have on the crypto market. In short, it's going to be really bad, and that's simply because FTX was believed to be one of the most trustworthy crypto companies in existence.
Wow,
I mean,
man,
take a
that's
second to
massive.
consider that Sam was on a first-name basis with politicians, was actively pushing for crypto regulations, and was allegedly in bed with the SEC and others. The FTX exchange received billions of dollars of investment from big names, including asset managers like BlackRock. Heck, even a Canadian pension fund invested in it. This gives the impression to politicians, regulators, and even crypto holders that no matter how clean a crypto company appears to be, chances are it's doing something shady behind the scenes. The supposedly high quality of other crypto exchanges is now being called into question, and it's not good. You
Yeah,
can
but
bet
that's
your
the
bottom
stupidity
Bitcoin we're
of
going
the
to see lots of investigation into
SEC.
not just FTX, but every other crypto exchange out there. This is almost guaranteed because FTX and Alameda were massive players in the crypto industry. This means they probably have lots of information about every crypto company. As I mentioned earlier, Alameda Research was the
Coming
largest
up to
recipient of all the USDT ever
10
issued
minutes.
by Terra. This means there is a high likelihood that Alameda has more information about Tether than any other crypto company besides Tether itself, and it's likely this information will be revealed very soon. On that note, the information that FTX and Alameda have about counterparties may be why Sam isn't in prison. If it's true that FTX and Alameda were working with the US government in some capacity, then you can bet that Sam has lots of information on
Yeah.
Uncle Sam too. Information that powerful people don't want made public. Now, this is just my speculation, but to my mind, it's the only explanation as to why Sam continues to be living life as usual, despite doing tens of billions of dollars in damage to FTX's users and the wider crypto industry. It's probably a similar situation for the other insiders at FTX and Alameda. In any case, it's clear that we're nowhere close to getting the full facts about what happened behind the scenes. Until we do, there'll be no shortage of conspiracy theories, some of which could well turn out to be true. There will also be no shortage of scrutiny directed at the
Here we
crypto
go.
industry, and to be honest, much of it will be justly deserved.